Hello and welcome back to my channel and my classic solo traveler campaign. This is video 24. The episode is entitled The Safe House. It follows on from our last episode, which was called The Mysterious Approach. I'm going to give a quick recap of the previous episode. We were left pretty well on tenterhooks. It was quite a finish, quite dramatic. Hopefully you were patient enough to wait for quite a delay in getting my traveler video out again. And I must admit, it is down to the fact that I've been rather diverted by maybe a few other projects that I've had sidelined previously and came to the fore. I had the fortune, I'm not going to say misfortune, it may be misfortune for our Traveller or RuneQuest viewers, but fortune for me of getting a Homes basic D&D campaign up and running, which I'm finding very entertaining. At the same time, I got my Hero Quest out again and started playing that. And I've just decided to launch my own RPG, which is basically a systemless RPG that I'm just going to basically make up on the spot and use some little tables, and that's going to be based on my interest, my own country, which is Scotland, and its Celtic past. And I'm going to create almost like a fantasy version of that. So it doesn't mean to say that Traveller and RuneQuest and some of my other core have just been jettisoned and forgotten. They're all very much up there. It's just that I'm afraid in the hectic scheduling of basically getting some of these other campaigns up and running, I haven't been able to maybe devote as much time. So hopefully normal service will be resumed on some of the more neglected ones, and if they're not coming out as fast as usual, well, maybe this gives you a chance to catch up. A few people have said, look, Brian, you really just produce these things far too fast. You're going to have to slow down a bit. So, I can't really consume them that fast. So, if I just listened maybe to that and maybe slow down the pace a bit, maybe that could be a way of getting around this possible, stop me from basically beating myself up too much about my scheduling. Right, back to the Traveller campaign, the Safe House, episode 2, the prior episode recap. Previously, the characters were caught in the middle of an assassination attempt on their patron, Jakev Zappo, inside the starport cargo bay. The killer fled, and the chase hurtled through the maze of freight containers and into the crowded terminal concourse. Weaving past startled passengers and dodging port security, the assassin pushed for an exit and darted into the service tunnels, emerging and making his escape until one fatal misstep brought the pursuit to a sudden, catastrophic end. At that moment, an enigmatic female told the pursuing characters to come with her if they wanted to live. So if you'll recall, there was quite a catastrophic end to this high-speed chase through the starport. The assassin emerged from the tunnel, the service tunnels. He thought he had he made his escape. He located his speed bike, which was hidden. He went up a slip road, and unfortunately a rather large articulated lorry, or whatever is the tarot version of that, came out of another road, and there was a bit of an almighty collision. His body was thrown high into the air, and like a rag doll, it was basically mashed on the freeway. It was a bit of a horrible sight. So effectively, our assassin had disappeared. However, not all was lost in terms of the pursuit, because we had this enigmatic female, and I am saying that she is actually our ISS agent, Lyra Val, the one that's posing as a Scout Service Administrator. And she says, come with me if you want to live. So the characters, they do. They think, right, we can't really afford to be around here. This person maybe has, we don't know who they are, but we're possibly just going to have to try and trust them at this stage. Maybe they can protect us, who knows. So she says, follow me, and she takes the characters, our little pawns, can be taken back into the starport. She seems to know where she's going. As we are moving along, she actually explains to us who she is. She says, my name is Lyra Val. I am the Scout Service Administrator, but I will explain my real role anon. So we get to, within the starport, she takes the characters to a starport conference area, and we go into our small room at the side. In that room, we are greeted by Rhea Asfig. Remember Rhea? She was the Imperial Navy commander in Elite Special Forces. She is an Imperial agent, just like Lyra Val. She had originally been trying to probe out our characters, maybe with the view to recruitment. Now is the opportunity that both of these individuals have been waiting for. They are going to maybe make their play for the characters. They have obviously observed the recent events. What do they know about Jakev and his activities? What do they know about Taro's potential conspiracy on the go? So we do realize that it was Lyra Val was the one who approached the characters, and she's led them to this quiet meeting room where Rhea waits. They introduce and reintroduce themselves and outline that they have been observing clandestine activities involving the Taro Corporation, and the name of Jakev Zaphal has emerged from their recent intelligence gathering and surveillance. They also say that they had his room, that we were speaking to him quite candidly about the situation, bugged. So we have been surveyed, we have been recorded, and know about the conversation, the dossier, and most importantly, the key card that we liberated from Jakev's twitching corpse, his dead slumped body that had some blood spilling out over his chest. And Bastian tried to do some medical attention, but Jakev was well beyond any chance of recovery. He had basically died in our presence. They really want the characters to continue with the mission to retrieve the stolen dossier and from the safe house using the provided key card. So they want our characters to continue with what Jakev had determined that they should be doing, which is basically follow up on this dossier. However, we actually have to go and locate the dossier, and Jakev has given us enough information and hinted at with the key card that the dossier is in what he would call a safe house. So they stress also that they must not be seen to be working together with the characters, and that this is purely, or should be seen as, the characters' operation, and Imperial involvement cannot be suspected. And they emphasize this quite dramatically. Just as an overall thing, about the actual characters, I did actually visualize Lyra Val. When I was leafing through this, I thought she would probably look a wee bit like this. You know, she's in kind of like casual clothing, starport kind of jumpsuit type thing, But she is quite she's quite a young person. She's probably in her late 20s, early 30s. She is quite, quite an attractive lady. She looks quite commanding, quite self-assured. We know that from when I was giving you a bit of a character profile way back in one of the earlier episodes, that she is an ISS agent. She is posing as the Scout Service Administrator on Taro. That is basically her front. She is quite pro-Imperial, quite not a fanatic, but she is very much part of the Imperial dream, the Imperial doctrine, the Imperial approach. So she is a very loyal and willing servant of the Imperium. She is also aided by this Rhea Asvig, the Imperial Navy commander, who had loads and loads. She was basically elite forces. She had a lot of skills. She knows a lot about probably counterinsurgency. We weren't quite sure exactly what her specific role was. She is keen to be involved in this operation. She is hooked up with Lyra. They are acting as a team, and they have probably triangulated on the characters as being pretty good bets for using as agents in putting forward the Imperium's influence and interests on Taro. So they also frame, this is a bit more sinister, the offer in a way that the characters have basically no choice. They say that, well, we can erase the security footage and protect your identity, because if you recall, basically this hot pursuit was televised, probably on security cameras. Their mugshots are all over these cameras. They could be, if anybody gets their hands on this footage, they can use it maybe to try to identify them. So they're saying, well, we can hold on to this footage, we can probably erase it and destroy it, or just leave it and allow other forces access through either formal or underworld channels to get access to this, and you could be in a bit of trouble. So we are between a rock and a hard place, the characters a bit. I think they probably will be quite keen to maybe just continue with their mission and feel like, well, this is almost like a fait accompli. We're being kind of forced into this situation. We do say, well, is there anything that we can gain from this situation? Jack F did offer us 17,000 credits, and Lyra says, look, you are going to get a lot more in reward from the Imperium if you follow through with this mission. This is a far more complicated and multi-layered or potential mission that is heading out towards you, in front of you. We anticipate that you are going to be involved in this for some time. We expect you to get sufficiently rewarded for the element of risk that you are undergoing. So we, I suppose, immediately our eyes light up a bit, and we are probably a bit more satisfied. Even though we're being railroaded into this, we probably are okay about it. As I said, a lot of us have got that kind of background that basically we're following orders, and it's just the Imperium exerting their overarching control once more. One final point, future contacts. They will get in touch with the characters using secure comms. So the characters aren't to be seen with these individuals again, unless it's on the terms of Lyra or Rhea. Okay, so that is us. We've done the first scene, which is called Imperial Involvement. Let's move on to scene 2. And I'm deliberately doing this in a kind of episodic kind of, scene to scene, almost like a kind of mini film, just to give us like little snapshots of where we are progressing through through this adventure. Almost, if I want to go into and zoom in on particularly on a particular scene, I can do that. I've got a self-contained little, almost like a little a stage that I can have my pawns acting out on with either, maybe some equipment or props, or I can use that visualization technique that I was using in the first episode. So scene 2 is called Locating the Safe House. So the general address is ascertained from reading the cover code on the key card. So this key card that was on a lanyard around Jakev's neck that we liberated from him, it does have what is called a cover code on that key card, and it gives it a kind of general location in a downtown area in the urban zone. We don't actually have an actual specific address. It just gives us a kind of almost like a unit block number that we can search. So it will require a bit of further investigation when we get there, and it will also require some discrete transport to take the characters there. So Lyra says, look, we can arrange for some transport. If you go to the exit of the starport, we'll get a vehicle to come and pick you up. It'll take you to this downtown area that we are aware of. Good luck. And you won't be seeing me again. We're going to probably use Rhea as our contact in the future. I have to keep my presence discreet and under the radar. So we do head back into the town of Taro. We go to the downtown area. The safe house itself is located in what looks to be like any other rental or cheap apartment unit from the outside. And that's probably why it is effective by being completely nondescript. And so it will require some further investigation to locate the exact entrance in what appears to be a number of warehouse units and rental blocks. So if you can just imagine that it's almost like a kind of quite not a seedy area, but it's not really a very well-to-do area. It's got some some basically warehouse units and some cheap apartments in blocks. All of these are sealed, environmentally sealed. There's no dome in this area. We have to use our respirators when we're out and about. It will require some further investigation to locate the exact entrance. So what we're going to do is we're going to use some of our skills to do that. And what we can do is we can invoke a check using admin and streetwise of a roll of 8+. So let's see if any of our characters have got any of these skills. So if we look at Saria, she's got bribery, electronics, administration, mechanical. So she's got a bit of admin skill. So probably what we can do is we can ask the right type of questions, maybe go into shops, maybe go into the little businesses roundabout and say, look, we're trying to look for this particular block. Have you any idea where it is? And they can maybe give us information that way. Or we also have streetwise, and let's just see if any characters have a bit of streetwise. And again, that would be just through asking the right kind of questions. Rifle, brawling, air raft, sword, survival, leader, wield, and then forward observer, administration. I don't think any of us have got streetwise. So we're going to have to rely on our administration. But I have seen that Fiora has got excellent administration. She was getting it in those special assignments that she was getting. So if we roll an 8+ and we get a +2 D modifier, let's get our dice out. So we need a 6+ from Fiora to find out. So let's see how we get on. We do. We just find out. So we managed to ascertain the address, and we can do that discreetly. If we hadn't, we could have had a bit of a problem. I was talking maybe about a local gang or a curious resident notices. So we've been able to do that discreetly. So we can move on from locating the safe house to the next stage, which is called Scene 3, Entry and Bribery. So crossing the open street from a position opposite, The late afternoon traffic masks our approach. The building looks to be sealed and glass airlock doors open with a soft hiss, revealing a small lobby with worn seating and a desk tucked into one corner. The security guard, who is a broad-shouldered man in a pressed uniform shirt, looks up from a half-finished cup of coffee, eyes narrowing slightly as he takes in unfamiliar faces. His posture is relaxed, but there's a subtle weight in his gaze, the kind that says he's used to deciding who gets through and who doesn't. Somewhere behind him, a muted holoscreen flickers with local news. Oh dear. I hope there's not breaking news coming up. Starport, freak accident, motorcyclists totally destroyed on freeway. Potential pursuers have not been located. But if we act quickly, we might be able to circumvent any embarrassing news flashes that come up. So let's get our 4 characters. We've got this security guard. He is behind the desk. We approach the security guard. We decide, actually, he looks the type that probably, if we just give him a few credits and maybe just to turn a blind eye. So we've probably got a few strategies that we can do. We could say, well, actually, we know someone in this thing, and we want to leave a note under his apartment. Can you let us through? Or say, oh, we need to do some. We're up here to do a bit of I don't know, maintenance or something like that. Some kind of cover story. I think we'd probably go for something that we kind of know this person and we want to try and deliver something personally. So really we could say, and we could give you some money for your trouble if you maybe just turn a bit of a blind eye and just let us up. We're only going to be up there for 10 minutes. We don't really need to be very long. So I'm going to say that we can have a bribery roll, and if we roll A+, and the only character that does actually have bribery, and this was something that Saria picked up as part of her Merchant Marine service, she got bribery. So Saria is going to do a bit of, she's going to do the talking on this, and she discreetly gives this chap about 100 credits, and he says, look, we're only going to be out for 10 minutes. We're not going to, we don't want to hang around. We're really quite desperate to give this chap a bit of a note, just to update him. It doesn't look as though the security guard really knows the individual that we're talking about. He's kind of looking a bit kind of, well, I don't know how many residents we've actually got, and a lot of these units are empty, that type of thing. But he does seem to be quite keen on taking 100 credits that have just come out of nowhere. So let's do it. So we're saying A+, and it's going to be a 7+. And maybe have DMs for social and streetwise. And her social is 9, so she's quite a high social, and she doesn't have any streetwise, so that's not going to do anything. I would say that she maybe got a bit of status, and she looks as though she's quite important. So I think maybe I could add that in, give us a +1. So let's have a +2 because of that. So it's a 6+ to get. So we do. He says, well, yeah, I'll have. Yeah, that's no problem. But make sure you're not too long. I don't want you hanging around. About 10 minutes tops. Otherwise, there could be some trouble. Maybe, whatever. So that was quite important that we passed, because if we had failed, I'm saying that there could be consequences that the characters aren't aware of. The guard could potentially tip off shady contact, or the CCTV logs the entry. So he's probably not going to log the entry on the CCTV now. Maybe switch it off. Or potentially there's no complication because we actually, even though it's been a fail, we still managed to get away with it. So we've passed the test there. We've managed to get entry through the security guy. He has let us pass. We go up to the basically where the safe house is located on one of the higher floors. We use the key card. It applies in the lock. The door seal shuts behind them with a faint hiss. This is once we get in. The air smells faintly of dust and recycled climate control. A place shut up for weeks, maybe months. So it doesn't look as though it's visited very much at all. Sparse furnishings stand in the dim light, leaking past heavy blinds. So it really looks as though it has not been lived in. There are no personal effects. There's no clutter. Nothing to suggest anyone lives here, except and they really have to tune their ears because it's so quiet and there's no real noise coming in from the street outside. There's a very faint hum coming from somewhere behind one of the walls. So is this a clue? So when you think of it, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the location of how to use this key card and probably some form of safe. So we are on the hunt for spotting the safe. So let's do that. If I get my sheet out of the way. To spot the safe, choose a character. Roll an 8+ with an intelligence of 8+, giving a +1, and a 10+, a +2. So we have got Saria, whose intelligence is 8. We have Bastian, whose intelligence is 7. We have Fiora, whose intelligence is a C, so that is actually a 12. And we have Akira, whose intelligence is 9. So we're all pretty smart, but I say Fiora is probably standing there working this thing out, saying, right, I would probably say we should probably choose that wall over there. That looks the most obvious. Is that where this hum's coming from? Where's that? You know, can you hear that? Can you hear that? And you know, Saria saying, no, can you hear that? I can't hear that. It's all turning into one of those kind of conversations. So I would say that we're going to choose a safe bet would probably be Fiora. She's got an intelligence of 10+, so she's going to get +2 added on. So it's going to be 8+ turned into a 6+. So let's find out what happens. So she succeeds, and success means Fiora, she notices a faint seam in the wall panel behind a false bookshelf. So she says, look what I've found. This isn't real. Help me move this bookshelf and we'll get this wall panel off. And behind the wall panel is a safe. So they use the key card to to actually open the safe. We can use the key card and we can use a mechanical electronic. So it's not just a straightforward thing that we can just stick the key card in and the safe is going to open. There might be some form of security on it. So mechanical and electronic. So if any of our characters got that, so let's have a look. Has anybody got mechanical on Fiora's side? Nope. What about on Kira? Forward observer, 0G pilot vac-suit, so nothing. Bastian has got a computer, but he doesn't have... Oh, here we go. Saria has got mechanical and electronics. Right, we're in business. So we could probably add both, I would say. Yep, I'm going to say that she can add +2. So she's got mechanical 1, electronics 1. She says, look, we better be careful. I think there might be some form of mechanism on this, which is also maybe wired up to something. I'm going to use all my skills, some of my mechanical and electronic skills, and see whether I can figure it out. It might just take a few minutes, but I think it's worth the investment. We say, Saria, carry on. You're doing a great job. So we're going to be able to do this on a 6+. We do very successfully, so she opens it in no time. We liberate whatever is in this safe. We retrieve a dossier, which is a physical folder, but we also find inside an encrypted data chip, which wasn't mentioned by Yavik. So what is this all about? This is something different. What does this mean? So the characters say, okay, we've got the dossier. We really need to get out of here pronto. However, what's this data chip? And I'm going to have potentially have just like a little mini game in the apartment and say that, shall we have see whether we can decode this data chip on the spot? And I'm going to say that they were given a decryption tool by Lyra and Rhea beforehand if we roll an 8+. Otherwise, there's a need to return to a safe location, and the situation may determine the time and place. So we have not set off any alarms that we're aware of yet. We've successfully negotiated the security guard. We've successfully opened the safe. We don't feel like we've tripped anything. We don't hear any potential alarms going off. We think we've got a bit of time. Certainly out of that 10 minutes that this chap gave us, we've probably used about 5 of it in doing all these type of things. Shall we see whether we actually have a decryption tool in our midst? We don't. So what we're going to have to do is take it back for further analysis. If we had gone ahead with it, we could have actually gone through some of the layers of decryption or encryption on it and seeing whether we could actually come up with any information. We're not going to do that right this red hot second, but we'll probably be able to do it once we get to a safe location. So let's move on to scene 6, which is exit, and I'm saying possibly a minor hitch. So as we go back down probably the elevator, we reach the ground lobby. The security guard's there, and he says, "Right, you've only got a few more minutes. Did you manage to deliver what you had to do?" And we say, yeah, that was great. You know, you've really been very, very helpful, and we do really appreciate this. But is there potentially a hitch? So I can roll a d6 and see whether the characters make a smooth departure, or are they going to be any issues with their departure. So they do make a smooth departure. There are no problems. So basically, it's been as clean as a whistle, this operation. You know, it's almost textbook stuff. Maybe Rhea and Kayla, not Kayla. I keep forgetting the lady's name. Lyra. Sorry, Lyra and Rhea. They maybe are going to be quite impressed with our prowess on this first mission. Maybe this is a good sign. We've done a good job. The only thing we haven't done is maybe encrypt this new data chip. However, this is new to us. We really need to get to a safe location. So the next scene is called Scene 7, Remote Debrief and Conclusion of the Episode. So we decide to probably move on foot for about a few hundred meters to a different street and a different part of the complex. We managed to hail down some form of taxi. We say, "Can you take us back to the Dragon Hotel near the starport?" And he says, "Yep, that's no problem. Few credits, give him a bit of a tip." We managed to get back to our hotel suite. We use what is called a secure comms. So when we're actually back into our suite, we are contacted. It's almost as if we are being observed, and this is Lyra and Rhea. They remain unseen, but they debrief the characters. So they ask us about how we got on in our mission. We explain that we managed to infiltrate the safe house. We recovered the dossier, which we have here. We also got a data chip. So they say, right, that's interesting. What we're going to have to do is maybe give you a decoder, a decryption tool that you can use. What we'll do is we'll get that couriered over to the hotel. If you go down to one of the security boxes and give give the concierge code 127, he can allow you access to one of the security boxes, which will have a decryptor. You can use that to do any further analysis. Also, on the back of this, we are going to basically give a further debrief from Lyra and Rhea, and that is going to be at the start of the next episode. But let's just see whether we can do a bit of analysis on the data chip first, before we have to head off into the sunset and get ourselves ready for the next episode. So later on, probably moving into early evening now, we do get a call again, say go down and collect this item. We tell Clement, he was looking very, very suave and dignified this evening, and he says, "All right, you want to use one of our security boxes, just give us the code." We give him the code, and he says, "Right, that's no problem. Oh yeah, there's a package here that's just been delivered. You take it back up to your room, no problem, no questions asked in the Dragon Hotel." We think this is an excellent establishment for us to stay, very discreet. So we unwrap the package. It is a decryptor, a decryption tool. We think, right, we can maybe give this bit of this data chip, a bit of a crack. What we're going to do, first thing we need to do is break the first encryption layer. Computer 8. Does anyone have computer? So we look through our little skill base and we say, well, Saria, I don't have it. Oh, Bastian, he said, yeah, I know a bit about computers. Fiora, I never switched them on. I don't know what you're talking about. And Kira, yeah, I scoff at computers. I'm not interested. However, Bastian is our man on this, literally. He has computer 1. So we can roll 8+ to see whether he gets that, and he gets a bonus of +1, so it's a 7+ to break the first encryption layer. He doesn't, so we don't break the first encryption layer. So we have a bit of a problem already. What we can do is carry on, because we can still do other things on it. And what we're saying is admin 8+, interpret shorthand codes and aliases. So on this data chip, there's all sorts of information that they can see in the decryption tool, basically they can't really work out how they can reveal any names on the encryption layer. However, maybe they'll be able to see if they can interpret any shorthand codes and aliases, and that would reveal key operatives. So, that could be something. And that's admin 8+. And Fiora says, well, tell you what, I'll give this a shot, because I've got admin skill. I've seen this type of thing before, some of these codes, and potentially I might be able to make something of it. So she needs a 6+. Terrible. So we're not really having any joy at all. So that's 2 fails. We've got one final check to see whether we can hit gold, which is access hidden metadata, and that would have links of officials and corporate business. But this is a bit of a wild card, this one. I've got jack of all trades, and if we'd had that, that would give you it's almost like you being a bit of a hacker, that kind of thing. You might be able to get strike lucky, but none of us has that. So we've only got Bastian's computer skill, so that is what we're going to have to use. 10+ modified by +1 is a 9+. Let's see what we get. So we fail on everything, and I'm saying that the outcome, each success reveals a layer of the conspiracy that can be used in aiding the mission. Failure still yields enough intel and clues for the next phase of the mission. Implications will be revealed in the next episode. So we give the code on the secure com. We get Lyra and Rhea at the other end. We explain the fact that we have used the decryption tool. We have not been successful. We might need to get their assistance to do that. They say, right, okay, what we need to do is maybe have a debrief on some of the information that we were doing. We were just hoping that maybe you could do this remotely for us. We might need to take this in-house and do some analysis. However, we were trying to avoid that because we don't want any direct contact. Let us see how we are going to play that. Do you have any information that you can maybe follow up on? And they do say, well, we do have some sort of some information. We've got a few kind of names, a few things that we could maybe have a bit of a think about, and maybe do a bit of see whether we can piece some of that information together. And they say, well, that is a good start. Maybe you should start working on that. We'll come back to you about the briefing. So really what I want to do at the end of this particular episode is to say, well, they do want to debrief the characters, Lyra and Rhea, but we'll do that at the start of the next episode. And what we'll do is we'll actually role play the conversation that they have, and what the next steps we are going to have in terms of how we follow up this new information. We've also got the dossier that has got retracted information in too, and we can't forget that, and not just focus on the data chip. Maybe the data chip is complementary and it's something else. Yavik never mentioned the data chip. Why is that there? Is that got something else, another layer of conspiracy? What I plan to do is basically set that out at the start of the next episode and say, well, this is where the characters are, this is where they plan to go from there, and this is where their lines of inquiry could lead them. And the hook, I do have a hook for the next episode. This is what Rhea says: if what you found is true, this goes far deeper than we thought, and we've just drawn attention we weren't ready for. So it looks as though we are not in the jackpot when it comes to information, because we haven't decrypted all the information, but what tantalizing facts and information that we have been able to tease out already has, I suppose, trained operatives like Lyra and Rhea. They are already very interested. They can see some connections already emerging. They're interested to see how the characters figure that out themselves, and whether they can come up with kind of off-the-wall solutions between them in their luxurious Dragon Hotel suite. And the beauty of the Dragon Hotel is very discreet. Clement can't say anything about his guests, no matter what happens. Potentially, we could even meet Lyra and Rhea, if forced to, on the grounds in the Dragon Hotel, and the staff and the actual the discreet privacy of the customers will be maintained at all times by Clement and his staff. We might be able to do that. Okay, well, that was an interesting romp through that particular episode. Hopefully you can see maybe this is how we're going to be playing out some of the ones in the future, with some, I suppose, semi-structured. Anything could happen in each of these individual scenes. I might, as we progress, we'll probably have sometimes a bit more randomization. You might have things like just having usual encounters and using encounter tables. Or if we come into like a combat situation, we just go zoom out and zoom in and do the actual combat, and anything could happen there. But for this, I suppose, for some of these investigative steps, we've got to kind of almost follow a slight little kind of storyboard. So that's what I'm doing for these initial episodes. As I say, it'll probably get a bit more free form further down the line. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. I did. I certainly learned a lot more about what was going on in this conspiracy. There does seem to be quite a number of moving parts. The fact that we've come across this data chip as well. What has that got to do with things? It might actually open up a lot more information, and the dossier maybe was a bit of a red herring. Maybe that was a bit of a subterfuge, and it really was the data chip that was the most important thing. And maybe Yavik, as his people have come across something far more sensitive, and he wasn't really letting on. He was only, who knows what the web, what this level of conspiracy is manifesting itself in terms of information and counter information. We'll have to find out. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.